A major Department of Defense organization just admitted that a list of extremely exotic technologies are real. Let's take a look at some of the tech, the implications, and some of the big picture pieces everyone else seems to have missed so far. Hey Universe, this is Joseph Irwin with the Cosmic Embassy, and if you're new to this channel, I disclose some of the most important information for humanity today, like the secret space program, extraterrestrials, universal mechanics, inner work, etc. Also, the Cosmic Embassy is a physical tea house that sets up at festivals and events all around the world to disclose the same information and make music in this direction.
And as I take in that deep breath, I let go of all of that stress. And I let in more light right now than I have ever let in, yeah.
Say the faith, and that's the way that it will have to be. Well, excuse me, I beg to differ. Humanity is rising quick, going quicker. Won't you look around? What's that sound? Humanity rising up from the ground. We go up from the ground, up from the ground. Humanity rising up from the ground, up from the ground.
All protecting, loving, and caring every single being in this world. Every single human being in this world. We are one, we are one, we are sacred, we are one, we are one, we are sacred, we are one, we are one, we are sacred, we are one, we are one, we are sacred, we are one, we are one, we are sacred.
Who are you people?
The Cosmic Embassy, yo. Group hugs.
Here,
So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in this growing movement and channel. Now in this video, I'm going to cover the recent stunning admissions by the Defense Intelligence Agency that a list of papers on super advanced technologies are real, and how all this relates to and further substantiates certain insiders' testimonies and paints the big picture of the reality of these technologies and the secret programs that go along with them. Stick around to the end because I'm going to connect some dots in this video that no one else has so far, and I'm actually really surprised no one's covered this yet. I'll leave links in the description below of all the papers and source articles that I used in the creation of this video if you want to read it for yourself. In the last few years, official organizations have been confirming and alluding to more and more technologies that would have been considered unbelievable a short time ago. At the same time, many credible insiders have come forward and given massively detailed testimonies revealing some of the inner workings of super secret programs that have been going on for decades. The most recent meeting of official record and insider testimony was when, in response to a Freedom of Information Act request, the Defense Intelligence Agency released a list of 38 papers which have titles like invisibility cloaking, traversable wormholes, stargates and negative energy, and warp drive, dark energy, and manipulation of extra dimensions. And the last two I just mentioned were already released in full in 2017 by Secret Space Program insider Corey Goode, and were previously nowhere else on the internet, and we've confirmed this. Now, this release from the D.I.A. is particularly stunning for me because I've been close to Corey's work since the start. I mean, when he started posting anonymously in chat rooms, I was there, insanely excited and just stoked on the information and how it resonated with me. More recently, I was actually reading these papers Corey leaked while on the airplane on my way to Disclosure Fest in DC to meet with Corey and others. And the person next to me on the plane saw what I was reading and actually stopped me and is like, "What is that?" Because it was about wormholes and stargates and negative energy. That turned out to be a great conversation. Secret Space Program Red Pill. But anyway, anything validating Corey is huge in my opinion because of the massiveness of his testimony and just the implications of it all. So anyway, the D.I.A. has now confirmed that these papers are real, 2 of them leaked by Corey. And the author of at least one of these papers, Dr. Eric Davis, has gone on record saying that it's real and that he authored it and he doesn't know how it got public. And as Dr. Michael Salla has pointed out before, this lends major credibility to Corey Goode's claims. And at the very least, it points to him having very real inside sources that are helping him release this information to the public. Now, to give further context, some technologies referenced in these papers like metallic glasses, stargates, cloaking, advanced propulsion, etc. have already been discussed in great depths by Corey in countless interviews where he says the papers are used to read in certain individuals who are being brought into secret projects to start to familiarize them with some of these advanced technologies that are already being widely used in secret space programs. And this is reflected in the testimony of another dear friend, Laura Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of late President Eisenhower, who claims that while being recruited for a covert Mars colony program, she was given access to papers that match much of the content of the list of the papers that was just released by the D.I.A, like faster than light travel and propellantless propulsion. Try to say that 5 times fast. Propellantless propulsion, propellantless propulsion, propellantless propulsion, propellantless propulsion. Anyway, suggesting that she actually was being read in a similar fashion as Corey Goode had previously stated. Furthermore, Laura claims that one of the main people involved in her Mars program recruitment was a guy named Dr. Hal Puthoff, who is widely known for helping create Stanford Research Institute's remote viewing program that officially went on for almost 25 years. And he just has a ton of inside sources, which I'll get into in a second. And this is where it gets really interesting because Hal Puthoff is the founder of EarthTech International, which was listed several times in this D.I.A paper's release. And I just found something that everyone else who's covering this topic seems to have missed, even sALLA, which is Puthoff recently revealed a ton about this program in 2018, including that he is actually the reason that this list was even created in the first place. And this is why EarthTech authored or was involved in many of the papers released by the D.I.A. Check out this quote. And this is from Puthoff's article. Dr. Hal Puthoff addresses the Society for Scientific Exploration, and this is on To the Stars Academy's website. So I'm going to scroll down here and you should read this whole article because it's fascinating. But all right, so he's talking about how this organization was created. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program was created by the D.I.A, and they chose Bigelow Aerospace as their kind of contractor. And then Bigelow chose him as one of their main subcontractors. So here's a quote. So he was tasked. He set up a special organization called Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies. It was called BASS, to do all these things you'd expect a program like this would do. And BASS contacted me at EarthTech International to collaborate as a subcontractor, and I agreed to do that. And okay, what did I address as a subcontractor? One of the critical issues there is there's so much high-level security and compartmentalization in this subject area, and there's a lot of it. And it's difficult for contractors to obtain expert opinions on advanced technologies because they would have to expose why they are interested. So I acted as a surrogate. I was contracted to commission mostly unclassified white papers from experts around the globe about where their particular subject's area would be in the year 2050 as like a general survey of aerospace futures. I decided this would be the best way to get the best knowledge we had across many technologies without actually exposing why we wanted to know. So I let out 38 contracts over a 2-year period, and I'll show you what the studies were. You can read them here. Positron aerospace propulsion, IEC fusion as a compact energy source, warp drive, dark energy, extra dimensions, metallic glasses for aerospace use. Really cutting edge kind of things. Here's some more of the papers I commissioned. Negative mass propulsion, anti-gravity for aerospace applications, programmable matter, invisibility cloaking. These are just the kind of things that we needed to have maximum technical input from the best people around the globe. And so that's what we did. That's what I did. Now we could wait. We told these people they could publish their reports in physics journals and engineering journals, but of course the contractors didn't want to wait. So the Defense Intelligence Agency bundled up these 38 papers and put them out as a defense intelligence reference document posted on a JWICS server that anyone in the government or contractors could get access to. And by and large, they have not been released to the public yet. A couple of them did leak out, but Corey Goode. And to be fair, the I-Team with George Cap. So let me give you an example of how this stuff helps people who are chasing these really difficult problems. I'm choosing one here, metamaterials for aerospace use. I'd love to talk about really fancy materials, but they're classified. However, there's a lot of materials that have been picked up or provided even in the public domain. I'm going to give an example because it shows exactly what the structure is for how to deal with this. This is an open source sample. It was sent anonymously to talk show host Art Bell. The fellow claimed to be in the military. He said that this sample was picked up in a crash retrieval, and so he sent it by mail. So what does that mean? Chain of custody, non-existent. Provenance, questionable. Could be a hoax, could be some slag off some foundry floor or whatever. However, it was unusual sample, so we decided to take a look at it. Anyway, so he goes on to say that this metamaterial that came into Art Bell's show was layered bismuth and magnesium. There's no way they could reproduce it until much later. And basically he's saying this was authentic. It came from a crashed craft. But he's saying that this information coming through kind of unconfirmed sources gives them that layer of deniability that Corey Goode and other insiders have talked about. And that's how they're able to read in contractors. So Puthoff commissioned these papers to read in contractors on the tech they needed to know about the project without breaking security clearances by revealing all the classified stuff he actually knows about, because these papers are not classified. That's key. He's sourced from the public. Combine that with Laura's testimony, and they both directly correlate Corey's statement that these were used to read in people in secret projects, because that's exactly what Dr. Hal Puthoff is saying he created this list for in the first place. And if you read more of that article from Puthoff, he talks about how the AATIP and all of this got started, and there's a link below to that because I don't want to go in detail. So this is all really fascinating. And even though this is just the partial story because these guys are actively working with the government and security clearances, it's crazy to see how all this push is being made through credentialed, mainstream type sources to inform the public. Remember, Dr. Puthoff is one of the lead advisors of Tom DeLonge's organization to the STARS Academy of Arts and Sciences, which I covered in great detail in my previous video. And this D.I.A list itself had been originally commissioned by the AATIP. And the AATIP was headed by none other than Lou Elizondo, another to the STARS Academy advisor. So these guys in Tom DeLonge's organization, the former lead singer of Blink-182, are directly tied to all of this, intimately. And as I've stated before, in my opinion, To the Stars is the first official attempt at disclosure in the public. In Tom's books, which I covered in detail in my previous videos, there's some truly amazing disclosures. I mean, besides all the admissions about super advanced technologies and anti-gravity technology, they talk about the history of humanity. In the book, it literally says the Greek gods were real. They were extraterrestrials. We have some of their technology, and they never left. And make sure to watch my videos on Tom if you haven't yet. And even though I'm personally full on the full disclosure side of the equation, I'm so grateful that this is happening, as it's a major push forward in our collective consciousness, and it really corroborates the insider testimonies like Corey Goode, in my opinion. And I have to say, it's fascinating to see how all these organizations and people connect as we gain greater and greater clarity on what's been going on in secret. Looking a little deeper into some of these organizations and research mentioned in the D.I.A release, and by the way, I found all this through my own research in the public space. The About section of EarthTech International says the Institute of Advanced Studies at Austin was founded in 1985 by Harold Puthoff, PhD, and later incorporated under EarthTech International Incorporated. In 1991, as an innovative research facility with a high-powered creative staff dedicated to exploring the forefront reaches of science and engineering. Our research interests include theories of space-time, gravity and cosmology, studies of quantum vacuum, modifications of standard theories of electrodynamics, interstellar flight science, and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Specifically, as these topics may apply to developing innovative space propulsion and sources of energy, we strive to translate these ideas into laboratory experiments. So, wow. Some of the other authors and work mentioned in the D.I.A list, one of them, Robert L. Baker, whose publicly available papers on high-frequency gravitational wave communication states, and I'm paraphrasing, these are in my words, using double helix piezoelectric crystals, they can shoot communications through gravity waves through 12,000 kilometers through the Earth and throughout the solar system, and can help map out the solar system and the Lagrange points with a very low probability of being intercepted. And the Lagrange points, for those of you who don't know, are these stable points in the solar system that are kind of like magnetically locked. And it's a fractal concept, actually. I won't go too deep into it, but basically there's something called geosynchronous orbit in the orbit of the Earth. And that's where we have these big satellites that are basically, as the Earth rotates, we have these satellites that stay in the same place. And those are geosynchronously locked. But our solar system actually has those as well. Those are called Lagrange points. And to go a little bit further, our galaxy even has those, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in those places, you always find really unique things like, well, I'll just say this, it's a perfect place for a spaceport or a space base. And Corey Goods actually alluded to that before. Anyway, moving on. So these gravitational waves can beam through planets. They have very low probability of being intercepted. They can help map out the solar system, and they have the potential for remotely generating nuclear fusion and acting as a type of propulsion, a remote propulsion, and also surveillance through moons and planets and buildings, etc. Wow, this comes straight from his paper. So this is incredible. Using gravitational waves to send communications and observe through planets. Whoa. Another part of the paper is Dr. Gerald R. Smith, whose Positronic Research LLC proposes a revolutionary space transportation vehicle. And just going through his little article here, it basically says that it's useful for a lot of different reasons, including that the positronics don't leave a lasting radiation, so they won't kill you. And the other thing that he puts in is that it's already being used really widely, which I thought was interesting, that he states positronic production facilities is a mature science with production facilities all over the world, and suggesting that this could have been widely used and produced for a long time, maybe in the secret space program. All right, so the next reference in the papers, Dr. Richard Obusi, president of ICARUS Interstellar. Sorry if I butchered your name, Richard. President of ICARUS Interstellar, which is working on many different projects, including Project ICARUS, the creation of interstellar spacecraft, Project Hyperion, long-term manned interstellar travel, Project Bifrost and Forward, which is nuclear and beam propulsion of interstellar craft, Project Persephone, living technologies such as protocells, programmable smart chemistry in the context of habitable starship architecture that can respond and evolve according to the needs of its inhabitants. Oh my God, they know just how to get me excited. Evolving spaceships that are responding to the inhabitants of the starship. Oh my God, I gotta keep going. Project Tintin, nano satellites for precursor missions to stellar neighbors. And we've heard of that from a bunch of different people, like sending like a swarm of tiny satellites to kind of scout things out. All right, next one is Project XP4, which is long-term propulsion and pushing the edge of known possibilities. So they're creating basically kind of like propellantless propulsion as well, like exotic technologies that don't need to be refueled for really, really long-term missions. And I read a lot of their stuff on their website, and they're talking about, you know, how do we actually plan like 50-year, 100-year missions out into the cosmos? So really, really interesting stuff. And then finally, Project Voyager, which is about mapping a path to the stars. And this is a quote, "Not tomorrow, not in a decade, but today." Next one of the papers I thought was really important to put in here is the introduction to the statistical Drake equation, which this is really interesting because if this was just human adversaries who may have advanced tech, then why would they include this equation, as it has to do with the probability of alien life in the universe? In my view, clearly there is extraterrestrials as part of this equation in this official release, so it's important to note that. The next paper is on metamaterials for aerospace applications, Dr. G. Shivitz. And I want to throw this one in here because To the Stars Academy has been doing an in-depth project, although not that much has come out yet, granted, where they're starting to show for the first time to the public metamaterials and their analysis. And Puthoff talks about it in the same article referenced earlier. Also, they reference that some of these materials came from downed craft. And this is hugely significant because many leaks and insiders over the years talk about the government getting exotic materials from crashed ET tech. I mean, think about like a new type of metal or a new type of plastic or a new type of, like Kevlar or some material that's super, super light and super, super strong or super heat resistant. That's the kind of stuff they're finding that up until this point has been totally classified and is now starting to come out to the public. Another credible insider named Emery Smith has claimed to have dissected thousands of different extraterrestrial specimens, and he claims to have been part of an ET crash retrieval team where they got new materials, among other things, from downed ET craft, just as Puthoff and others have suggested. And I have a video, or I'm making a video on Emery Smith on this subject in general, so I'll just leave it at that for now and watch my other videos on that. And lastly, I'll put in here a guy named Ulf Linhardt has a paper on invisibility cloaking, and he has some TED Talks that I watched in the research for this video where he discusses kind of the basics of invisibility. But keep in mind, this guy is working in classified projects making real invisibility cloaking for secret craft. And that TED Talk was the most watered down version possible. And Corrigan and others have talked in detail about how there is extremely advanced cloaking technology where even there's certain areas of the sky where there's just tons of craft going all the time and nobody's seeing it because they're cloaked. So let that sink in for a little bit. So wow, this is really stunning stuff that's publicly available and being developed actively. And according to insiders, much of this has already been developed and is extensively deployed and utilized on a day-to-day basis in secret. And there's so much more, but that's all the time I have for this video, so you'll just have to tune in for later updates. But in closing, I'll say this. A grand picture is emerging from all directions. Mainstream credentialed sources, like those surrounding Tom DeLonge, are starting to reveal incredible things that not long ago would have been called fanciful or science fiction. And at the same time, an authentic grassroots disclosure effort is exploding from normal people and many credible insiders, the most important of which I am in the process of covering right here on this channel. And I believe it's important to integrate all these different perspectives coming out to get the widest, most accurate view possible. And this truly is the most exciting and dynamic time to be alive ever. And if you like what I'm doing and want to support, please subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Let me know which of these technologies you're most excited about in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Human gloriously, once upon a time, not long ago, a darkness fell on the earth, and the name is Draco. Yeah, intimidating as hell. To add to that, a real strong was these men are using the crazy powers of persuasion. They begin to speak, and the words they were saying, they sounded like this. He said, "Boy, are you taking a piss? I got the truth to tell, and the truth is this: you are less than nothing, and I could prove it. The divinity within you, I will remove it." So, with the wave of my hand, amnesia all throughout the land, memories of your past lives gone. No more remembering ancestral song. Your lifespan with just about 2 G's will be reduced to about 83. To about 83, oh hell no. But he continued, you see, he said apathy is now the name of the game. Life's got no purpose and that will never change. So drink your soda and watch it TV, and that's the way that it will have to be. Well, excuse me, how beg to differ? Humanity is rising quick, going quicker. Won't you look around? What's that sound? Humanity rising up from the ground. We go up from the ground, up from the ground. Humanity rising up from the ground, up from the ground, up from the ground. Humanity rising up from the ground, up